Hey everybody, welcome to ThursDev. It's Matt here. Yes, I know, it's been a long time. So, as you can see on the screen right now, we have the concept art I did of the Vargouille, the floating vampire head thing that I made several months ago. Gosh, I don't even know how long ago it was. But I've found some time and I'm going to do a full 3D sculpt. So why don't you stick with me and we'll get right to it. Just one quick note before we begin though. I'm going to be using a free program for this called Sculptris, or Sculptris, because you use triangles. So if you want a link to that, I'll put a link below and you can check it out. But I recommend it. It's really fun to work with clay. So as much as I would, I could use any other program here, I'm going to use this one because it's free. So here we go. This is a high poly sculpt of the Vargouille. Let's check it out. Okay, so here we are. We start with a sphere, and I'm at this point what I'm just trying to get the basic shape of the head. This is kind of why I chose to do this guy, because he's basically just a head, so I don't have to worry about any body joints or worrying about any of that stuff later on. I think the idea is I'm going to eventually turn him into a fully realized game character. That wouldn't be out of place in an Elder Scrolls or a Dark Souls type setting. So just getting the basic face shape down is it's kind of fun. It's like working with clay, and this whole program, as you can see, is kind of like working with clay. I'm using the grab tool and I'm pulling and pushing at this point. I'm not really doing a lot of adding or subtracting. I'm just kind of pulling and pushing the mesh. And the cool part about this program, Sculptris, is that you have kind of an unlimited tessellation. So it's what it is it's I think there's one point in here where you get to see all the little faces and all the little triangles in him, and we'll take a look at that later. But as you pull and you push, you really get a chance to see that they actually like build out. So you're not just working with a set number, it actually grows. And if you look at that little number down in the bottom left, that's how many triangles are in him right now. So that number will get bigger and bigger and bigger as we go. So you can imagine what a guy like with this level of detail later on and with a body would be like. We're getting into some heavy triangle loads. So I'm just forming the face. You can actually see he's starting to come together even now. I always like to do the nose first, because the nose, to me, sculpting the nose is a lot of fun. Occasionally I'll do creatures with wonky noses or ape-like noses or skull noses, and they're not nearly as fun as doing humanoid noses. I don't know why, I just have a blast. So we're onto the teeth now, and I'm using the draw tool here to add some volume without pulling it out and ruining what I have there. So it's just a nice little addition. And what you can see me doing is using the smooth tool, and I'm using it almost all the way through here just to smooth out the mesh and make it look pretty. Yeah. So and I think I'm just pulling down the teeth there, and then smoothing them out, adding some taking the draw tool and adding some stuff to them, using the inflate tool, which also does that, and kind of just giving them a little more volume so they look kind of cool. Yeah, again, more of the drawing, and what's really neat about this is is you can just keep building on it, and as long as your machine can handle the triangles. There's also a way to get rid of the triangles, like to optimize it a little bit, and it's a very smart optimization. So yeah, there we go. Look at him. Isn't he handsome? Oh, I think I'm in love. So I'm doing the eye wrinkles. I really, really should leave the details for the end, but depending on the mood I'm in, I really like to add them as I go. Just it's a nice little payoff. It's some forward momentum that I can see. So even though I've got like some details around his cheekbones and around his eyes, I'm still like, even just now I'm building the ears / wings. So I can't help myself. I need to go a little crazy. Yeah, look at that. There's something insanely satisfying about working in this program, and there's all kinds of different ways to sculpt. Almost every 3D package has a good sculpting tool inside of it, but the thing I really like about Sculptris, and it's just that you get that almost that satisfying feel as if you were actually working with clay. It feels a little more tactile, especially when you're doing it on a Cintiq like I am here. I'm actually using my pen tool and the keyboard and just going to town. So it does feel like, it feels a little more like manipulating something, and where you have to, the tessellation scales with your pulling and your pushing. You don't have to worry about getting something that's lower poly or gross as you pull it around. So here I'm using the crease tool and the inverse crease tool, which is one of my favorite tools because you can get a lot of detail in there. And I did it for almost all the wrinkles and the detail around here. And anything that looks a little too harsh, I just take and smooth out. So it's kind of neat. Did I draw or inflate that? I think I'm just pulling it out. Yeah, I'm just pulling it. Or pushing it in. Yeah, that's how I'm doing it. It really kind of just depends on where I am at that moment. Yeah, see, drawing creases there, smoothing them out. And I'm like, I think I smoothed them out too much, so I gotta add some more. And then he was like, maybe I'll give him an ear hole right in there. It's gotta be rough, though, when your ears are your wings. I would imagine you're hearing a lot when you're flapping them, trying to go around. So I actually put a bottom on this thing. Now, I was looking at the concept art the entire time I was doing this, so I could get it right. And I realized that the number of tentacles he had were way too many. And I realized I really had to put that number down because it was actually unclear how many tentacles he had. I just kind of got carried away in the 2D section, which does happen. It's a concept art thing. So at some point here, I also realized that bumping up his head a little bit, and a little bit of roughness to it. The pointy thing coming at the back is the tail. There we go. And I realized that in bats, which is kind of what his ears are modeled after, that tail attaches to the bottom of the wings, and I needed to find a way to do that. So you're gonna see me here in a few minutes trying to get that attached. But luckily, where it's just moving stuff around, it's not so bad. Sculptris is not without its problems, though. It does have a tendency to crash occasionally. It doesn't this time, but it has been known to do it. Especially when you're dealing with really high poly characters. Here we go. See, I'm trying to bring it down, and every time I smooth it out, it goes back. It's a little frustrating, but I get it. I'm not entirely pleased with it the way it turns out, but it's not so bad. There we go. Yeah, there we go. See, that's how many triangles are on there. Isn't that crazy? There's just so many. It's actually too hard to work with when you see all the triangles. So I just put them in there. If I'm specifically going into delete some triangles or optimize, there's a little optimize brush in there that you can use, and you can go in and actually get rid of some of that stuff, because there's sometimes you'll get a little bunch of triangles that look like an anomaly on the model, and you can't get rid of them until you take the little optimize brush and go in and just reduce them. So here I am doing the other, got 4 tentacles on this guy now, and I'm working all symmetrically here. I could, if I wanted to, go do the asymmetrical thing, but I'm not gonna do it on this guy. You know, the animation will take care of that. He won't be up to that much scrutiny, I don't think. He looks kind of cool symmetrical too. But what I need to do, especially in Sculptris, this is a warning, if you're going to use Sculptris to make asymmetrical things, you can do it, but you really, really need to make sure that all your symmetry is done first. So, because there's no going back. So here I am adding like the little foldy parts to the tentacles and the little ridges of skin around the base of them. He's really coming along. So just some details now. It's basically detail time, because all the structure's kind of there. Some meat stuff in there. Oh, time to make the little proboscis thing that goes into people's heads when he attaches, so he can suck on their brains. Oh, that's a little phallic. That's all right. Happy little phallus there. There you go. I'm no Bob Ross. Look at that. Isn't he special? Oh, it's time to add the eyes. Put in 2 more spheres. Put them in there. Scale them. Make sure they're right. So I get in here and I realize, oh yeah, look at that. His eyelids are not perfectly shaped to an eyeball. So I'll go in and adjust those until they look good. He looks good. There we go. So at this point, it's just kind of just detail work and nitpicking, but that's sometimes where you get some of the really best stuff. And yeah, so this will be a high poly model. Eventually I will turn this into a low poly model, but all of this will not be for naught. So I'm going to probably retopo him, which means I'm going to go over him and make him way less polys. Get rid of the triangles, make him into polygons and or squares, and just so he's usable in a game engine. If I took this guy into a game engine right now, he'd crash the whole thing, and animating him would be a nightmare. So I'm gonna retopo him, and yeah, we'll see what happens. But all of this is not for naught, because all this detail I'm going to bake into something called a normal map, and that normal map will be applied to the low poly model, and you'll get all this cool detail. It'll be an illusion. It's an illusion, Michael. It'll basically look like this guy, but it'll be way lower poly. So this is kind of how they do it. This is kind of the big secret in how they make low poly stuff look good. Well, thanks everybody. I really appreciate you joining me. I hope you're pleased with his high poly sculpt. He looks pretty good to me. I'm kind of pleased how he turned out. So eventually, down the line, you'll see me again, and I'll turn him into something lower poly. It was great to see everybody, and I'll join you next time. Bye!